So you want to raid a base. Today we're going to go over every aspect of DayZ home invasions, whether your style is raw force, time, grenades, claymores, or even the meta, plastic explosive. We're going to go over every method of raiding and also talk about some of the small details that can determine whether or not you successfully get the loot or absolutely fumble the bag with inches to go. So sit back, enjoy, and learn a little bit. First, before we get into the actual video, these are the raw stats of raiding for explosives for those of you that are just interested in this. It takes 12 grenades, that is regular hand grenades or explosive grenades shot out of a 40mm launcher. 5 claymores or 2 plastic explosives will blow up any wall that's metal or wood. If we are breaking into a gate, that's a fence with a code lock on it. We should first check if they have a 3-digit lock on it. If they do, we should always attempt to code break that door. It should take around 20 minutes to break in a 3-digit, versus a 4-digit can take a great deal longer. The first method of raiding we're going to be talking about is with firearms, and this is generally not a good way to raid, as opposed to more so, let's say I blew this up a bunch, and then I started blasting it with the gun when it had a little bit of life left. That's a better way, because you got to imagine as I'm shooting these bullets, it's ringing out to the entire world, and people nearby are going to have more and more time to sort of narrow in where those shots are coming from and eventually counter raid in my efforts. Right now, I'm going to give a shout out to WOBO. He has this really wonderful tool that essentially lets us know what guns are best for raiding. What determines the deterioration of our gun. First off, every gun has a different health that's sort of unseen in that pristine status. It's at full health, but what that health is, we don't know. But as we shoot the different bullets through every different gun, they deteriorate faster, some really quick and some really slow. This AUG AX is the slowest deteriorating gun in the game. So this is, AUG AX is the #1 best weapon to raid with. And it would take 150 rounds to break down this lower wall, which behind it is the lower frame. So I would have to use 150 rounds for the wall, and then the frame would take somewhere around 120 rounds. Now, as you can imagine, your gun is not going to be pristine, and neither is your magazine more times than not. It's going to be worn at best, right? So your gun is going to probably be jamming during this, and you're going to have to be repairing it. So weapon cleaning kits are mandatory for this as well, pending you not having the perfect gun for it. And also, you're going to need to reference WOBO's chart to know how quickly that gun is going to deteriorate. I used to think that the Vega was super good at raiding walls, and I think it used to be, but it no longer is. Shotgun rounds really burn through the durability of a gun rather quickly, whereas 5.56 and some of the other rounds kind of do it slower, pending the gun as well. The gun is very important. This is a moment where I'm going to give a really important shout. If we are planning on shooting this to raid it, something I think is a really good way to think of this is a crossbow. Now, a crossbow repairs with epoxy putty. So I'm not going to repair this with the weapon cleaning kit. When it gets damaged, it's actually going to be an epoxy putty that fixes it. And the cool thing about raiding with the crossbow is it is going to take a lot of arrows, and it's going to take a long time. Maybe one of your buddies sits here and code lock breaks it, and you do the arrows just to see who's faster. But the cool thing about raiding it in this way is all you need is a sharpening stone and a knife, and you have infinite arrows, so long as you can find a bush over here. As long as you can find a long stick, you can break down the long stick into short sticks. Boom, we split it like that. And then we drag the short stick onto our knife, and we could craft improvise bolts right there. Now you can improve this bolt in the, I'm pretty sure that the actual bolt, the metal bolt, is going to do more damage. It's going to be better for this. And you find this at hunting locations. You could actually find all the crossbow equipment at hunting locations. But these arrows are going to do just fine, and you could craft them pretty much infinitely so long as you could find another knife. And there are a bunch of knives. So if you just went around maybe Baron Zeno or a town, if you found a base somewhere near there, and you just found a bunch of knives, you found a crossbow, and you found epoxy putty, which is really easy to find. This is not a well-hidden item in my experience. I'm usually rolling in the epoxy putty. You could sit here and tick, 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 shoot this guy down. So the reason I bring that up is because you're not always going to have the ability to just shoot 5.56, and you're not always going to want to make a very noisy location. As we're going to talk about with some of the other raiding mechanisms, we want to get into the base as quickly as possible with as little sound cues as possible for the world around us. It's important to note when raiding with just melee weapons or ammo, sheet metal walls are going to be a great deal stronger. With that being said, when we hit those same walls with explosive, their HPs become the same, and the materials to raid will always be in unison. Alongside this, the frame will always have around 12,000 HP. All of these numbers that you see here are from my math using the HP calculator on WOBO and how much ammo I use to break down these walls. Now, let's blow some stuff up. Next up, we are talking about grenades, and I think personally this is one of the most effective ways to raid, just because you can find grenades, 12, which is what it takes to break one wall, rather quickly, honestly. If you're hitting Tricresta on Chinaris, you're hitting Tissy, you're hitting Northwest Airfield, you're finding maybe one grenade per airfield run, maybe 2 grenades per Tissy run, something like that. I don't know the exact lineup, but grenades I feel like are all over the place. Particularly in Bashnia, I find a lot of grenades up there, I feel like, but maybe they don't even spawn there anymore. I don't know, the whole system is messed up, but grenades are a great way to raid. And I could sit here and throw this grenade or just drop it by holding, let me back it really fast, drop it by holding G and then running around the corner. I would have more than enough time, and so long as I'm around a hard object, I'm not going to take damage from that grenade. What we don't want to do is drop the grenade and then run straight out here and look at it, because you would be amazed with the radius of some of these explosives. So instead, when we drop this item, and it's important to note as well, if the wall is inside of the building, we don't want to put it out here. Like, there is a chance, and sometimes it can be quite buggy, that that lip right there swallows the damage that would hit this wall. But I'm going to give you an alternative to the grenades really quick. There are 2 ways that we can do this. We can get a portable gas stove, connect a gas stove to it, and then put a cooking pot on it and fill that cooking pot, which in total will end up being 6 grenades. And as we spoke on earlier, it's going to take 12 grenades to blow up this wall. But what we can do is just turn this on, or scroll wheel, and switch on. And then as that heats up, it is eventually going to explode. And it should delete both the top and the bottom of that wall, leaving only the frame behind it intact. So this is one way we could do it. We could use the gas stove and cook it, but this cost us our cooking pot, our portable gas stove, and our large gas container. Something I recommend is just using the grenades by themselves, and they will explode in proximity. So let's say this is our wall here. Grenades, if they are not in a case and they are dropped on the ground, can be shot to explode. So if someone was in the bushes there and I was standing right here and they shot that grenade, it would kill me. Or if an explosion happens nearby them, they will explode. So you could either put it in a fireplace here that you made and started cooking right outside. But once again, we want to make sure that we're inside, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop 11 of these things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then I'm going to blow this one up and I'm going to run away. I would want to run around a hard corner, like I said earlier. But there you go, 12 grenades to break into the whole thing. At 6 grenades, it should make just a frame like this. At 12 grenades, you'll blow through the whole thing. The reason I like to do 12 grenades just on the ground and blowing up the last one is because it's one quick explosion and you're in there immediately. There's no dropping a grenade, boom, 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 one at a time and then running around the corner. No, we want to drop 11 grenades, drop them on the ground. If we need to do more afterwards, we can drop those as needed. We could drop those as needed. And I have gone ahead and repaired the wall across. So we have 2 full walls here. Oh, let me in, please. We have 2 full walls here, right? And the thing about claymores is that their damage is kind of finicky. Oftentimes, it's more, not the best way to raid, honestly, but even more so, oftentimes, the claymore won't blow up close. So if I put the claymore right here, it's going to blow up that other wall probably before this wall. There's like a certain cone of distance that it operates best within when it comes to raiding. And that's just my experience. I don't know, like, the science adds up to this. But something cool about claymores is that we can use this item alongside the other explosives. So let's say I had 8 explosives and I put them right here. I would have this bottom wall blown out. And the cool thing about claymores is that their explosion kind of carries a long distance in front of them. So I'm going to be blowing up this wall here with a bunch of claymores, and I'm actually going to put all the claymores after this one on this lip here. And you're going to see that that wall is probably going to blow up before this wall. So that first one was there. I'm going to put all the rest right here. Oh! Okay, so that's a bad example because I think that frame was hurt. I don't think I repaired that frame. But do you see how the explosion is carrying through to the other one? See, it blew up over here. So the claymore, even through wooden walls like this, right in front of it, you can blow up something on the other side effectively. If you were straight shooting a claymore, you could blow something up on the completely other side. Also, this goes for tents. If there is a tent in there, here, I'll show you. So I've gone ahead and placed a tent in here, and I've repaired this wall. So I'm just going to keep blowing up this front. You're going to see that this tent is going to explode rather quickly. And I believe this lower wooden wall should take damage and be exploding as well. And there we go. We've blown through. But as I use this next one, this is the moment where I think claymores are good. Let's say I suspected someone of being in here, maybe at an off angle over here. I don't know which remote detonator that is. I could set up a claymore here and it will explode all through that chamber. And there's a good chance that I would hit someone inside of here. But when we're raiding with claymores on a wall, if this is the only tool we have, something I recommend is going to the wall. Just like how we're going to layer walls, we're not going to layer them too close because if you double a wall up, it doesn't take less damage. I'm going to put a fence kit down, and then I'm going to put the claymore down. So I put the claymore down right at the edge of this fence kit here. And I just use that as a like a yardstick, a measuring stick, right? Boom. We blew out the tent inside, and look, it carried through and blew out the other wall over there. If the full blunt of the claymore lands perfectly on this fence, it will break in 5 claymores. The problem is lining up that full brunt of damage can sometimes be a little tricky. So I don't want us to think of claymores as our resource for breaking into something. I want us to think of it as a tool that we use alongside others, kind of like the ammo that I talked about earlier, or the crossbow. Something that we use alongside other explosives to fully raid an establishment. The strongest raiding item in the game is plastic explosive. It only takes 2 plastic explosives to blow a wall. The problem is, unlike grenades, I can't put a plastic explosive here and then put a grenade here and blow it up and it will explode. Plastic explosives will ruin if explosives go off next to it. The easiest way to use a plastic explosive is to pair it with a remote detonation unit. And this is actually 2 pieces. One is going to be the trigger and one is going to be the receiver. If I go up to the wall and I hold left click and I deploy the plastic explosive here, I could then take my remote detonation unit over to my plastic explosive and arm explosive. And as we see, half of my device is on the explosive and half is right here. And then we click this bad boy. And as we see, that will blow up the wall. And then one more of those exact same explosives would blow up the frame here. We can also use the remote detonation unit with the IED, but we'll talk about that in a moment. The problem with this item is that this item is super rare. There are, I think, 2 to 6 on vanilla. There are only 2 to 6 of these on the entire map at any given time. So this is an incredibly rare item that you're not just going to find lying around. And you're not going to find it if you're in Tissy exclusively. It does spawn at military industrials, and WOBO once again has a wonderful tool that maps out all of the spawn locations for all of the items in the game. And if you want to look at that, that'll be in the description as well. But it's an incredibly rare item that you find literally all over the map, completely spread out at random locations. And in general, you can't depend on finding 6 of these to blow up an entire establishment, maybe to get behind a bunch of walls, right? Instead, I'm going to give you the alternative to that. And that is taking a protective case and an electrical repair kit, and then we're going to combine the 2. And it's going to craft improvised explosive. The cool thing about the improvised explosive is that I can put 2 plastic explosives inside of it at once, which means instead of having to make 2 explosions to blow this bad boy up, I could just deploy this right here, same way I did earlier. Left click, we're gonna deploy. Oh, I have admin mode on. We're gonna left click deploy there. And now, exactly how I did it earlier, I'm gonna pair the remote detonation unit to it and arm explosive. And this right here is the S tier, the highest, the best possible way to raid a base is 2 plastic explosives inside of an improvised explosive and the remote detonation unit. Let's ride. As we see, it blows up the entire wall and the frame with the second explosion. So as we saw there, it takes exactly 2 plastic explosives to get through the wall here. But we're not always, like I said earlier, going to have this device right here. This guy, the remote detonation unit, is really hard to find. So we're going to talk about the alternatives to that right now. So here I have 2 improvised explosives, and the inside of both of them are 2 plastic explosives. So each of these is going to blow through that wall right there. Okay. Now, if I don't have another remote detonation unit, because like I said, the chance that you find this thing is so low. If you do, know that you're holding on to one of the rarest items in the game right there. But if you can't find that, the other 2 options are the alarm clock and the kitchen timer. The kitchen timer being the much better option of the 2. So first we're going to go over the kitchen timer just because I think you should put this one on precedent above the other. But here we go. I'm going to take my improvised explosive, and just like before, I'm going to deploy it right by the wall. There we go. We got our improvised explosive set up right next to the wall, making sure we're not on the outside of the lip or on the inside of the lip. And now I'm going to take my kitchen timer in my hand, and I'm going to hold left click when that circle starts spinning. I'm going to let go so quickly, and it's still going to give me plenty of time. Check it out. So I'm going to hold left click. I'm going to let go so quick. Boop. And I'm going to arm explosive. And if you want to give yourself a little bit more time because you don't have God mode and this isn't like a, oh, I can mess this up sort of thing, you can take a little bit longer. But imagine how long I have to run away just from that little bit. I'm going to go right here because I want you guys to see it. But imagine how long you can run away from that little bit I just turned, right? I barely turned it. It's still clicking. Still clicking. I don't think you can hear it. Still clicking from that little bit I turned. Keep in mind. Boom. And there we see. The alarm goes off. And then boom, boom, baby. But as we see, the kitchen timer gives us so much time to run away, even with the smallest of turns. So when you're turning it, maybe because you want to be 100% sure that you're not going to get got, right? Maybe hold it a little bit more. Maybe, right there. So however far you turn this kitchen timer, know that your wait time is going to increase substantially based on that. Oh god, it ruined my other improvised explosive. So just a note, this improvised explosive was right here, and that plastic explosive blew up over there and it ruined this improvised explosive way over here, which means my 2 plastic explosive inside of this as well would be ruined. So it's really important that we get far away from explosions and we make sure that our valuable items aren't in a blast radius, right? We want to make sure that they're safe. Let me make another one here. All right, so I remade a plastic explosive here, and this is where we're going to talk about the alarm clock. And the alarm clock is a lot more difficult. So first off, I'm just going to show you guys really quick that the time that the clock shows is the same time that the server is on. So here we go. The clock is saying it is 12:37. Let's go to the time on the server. Date, 12:37. All right, so it's showing the same time that's on the server. The problem with alarm clocks and rating is that certain community servers may not have vanilla settings for how fast night and day pass. So it's going to be a little hard, a little different rather, to gauge on every server pending their night and day cycle, how quick the moon comes and goes and blah, blah, blah. How this item works, first off, we're going to left click and we're going to turn it on just with a left click. Oh, I just turned it off. We're going to turn it on with the left click. And essentially, I'm going to put this on the ground so we could see it better. And essentially, there are 3 things that work here. The first is the minute hand, which is this long hand over here going to the 3 right now. This is the hour hand, the short, stubby line going down right here. And now that very skinny line that's pointed right below the 5, that is our alarm time. And unfortunately, it's hard to be precise with this, like incredibly difficult. So let's say I wanted it to blow up as soon as possible. Well, what I would do is I would take it into my hands and I would try and get it right after, like right after that hour hand. So let's give it a go here. Oh, let me make sure my admin tools aren't on. I'm gonna try and get it right after. So I'm just barely gonna turn it. How close are we right there? Let's see. Give it to me now. Okay, so it's right after. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this bad boy, and then I'm gonna take it over to my improvised explosive that is already kind of put into position here, and I'm gonna arm explosive with this. Now, the bad thing about alarm clocks is that they're very difficult to get right. Like, to get that hour right, and if your server's on a 1 multiplier, it's gonna take forever for it to explode. The good thing, the only thing that is better about the alarm clock, in my opinion, is that the kitchen timer makes that noise. Tick, 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 tick. The alarm clock is completely silent until the alarm clock sounds. So let's wait a little while, and then we'll let this thing blow up. I don't know if 2 explosions... Did I put 2 plastic explosives in there? I just went outside with my dog. That's going to be it for this base rating guide. I hope this helped you guys. I know it's a quite complex issue, and sometimes the explosions don't work as they are intended. So it's important to always over-prepare. You want to have more than enough explosives to blow it up, plus a little bit more, just in case an explosive works kind of finicky. But I care about you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Be good to each other out there. Or don't.